I like women.
I like women too.
Most people nowadays are fairly aware of the stereotypical two of the most popular sexual identities expressed in today's culture: heterosexuality and homosexuality. I identify as a lesbian, but I also know a handful of guys who are sexually attracted toward men and choose to use the word gay to identify themselves.
While I identify as a straight male, I can still respect that men that I see on the street, or even know if they look good doing their thing or if they're just well put together. I'm physically, emotionally, and sexually attracted to women, but being able to recognize a good-looking man doesn't compromise my sexual identity or my interest in women.
Since Andrew and I have two of the most commonly identifiable sexualities in today's culture, we thought that we would use our privilege to help identify those that lie out of the stereotypical dichotomous way of thinking about sexuality by explaining that sexuality can be seen as an ongoing continuum in a grand spectrum of possibilities.
For example, this is Nick. Nick identifies as bisexual. Bisexuality is an identity in which a person has a significant romantic, emotional, or physical attraction to both sexes. Frequency, intensity, or quality of attraction is not necessarily directed towards both sexes equally, though.
I'm bisexual, and yes, I do exist. In fact, I'm standing right in front of you. Unlike some of those people who are still exploring who they're attracted to, I'm confident in who I am. No, it's not a phase. I'm here for good. I'm emotionally and sexually interested in both men and women. And no, not every single one. You gotta be on my level for that. For those of you who think I'm still deciding and playing both sides, I have decided and made up my mind, and I think you are ignorant for thinking that. It's just as hard for me to find somebody to date. Yes, I said date, not hook up. I'm looking for someone to spend the rest of my life with. Someone, not a threesome. I tried that once, and that's never gonna happen again. I'm looking for love. Why is it people always look at me for who I am instead of who I'm with? Just because I'm in a heterosexual relationship does not make me straight. And if I'm with a guy, it does not make me gay. I'm bisexual, that is who I am, and that is who I will always be.
Stepping out of the closet next is a couple who chooses to identify along the broader range of identities as asexual and queer.
This is Melanie.
And this is Danny.
Our relationship may be a little different than the average couple. I love Melanie, and we spend some of the best days and nights together. Although we're not sexually active, we find a compromise that works for us.
Yes, and he does give the best back massages. I love cuddling with him, and he has the most wonderful voice when he plays his guitar and serenades me.
I guess our relationship really isn't that different from the average couple. I was lucky to find someone so caring and compassionate, because it's sometimes difficult for asexual people to find a lifelong mate. She completes me.
And I was lucky enough to find someone as sweet as Danny. Everything about him makes our relationship wonderful. I actually identified as queer before I met my sweet Danny. See, I don't believe in society's need for two genders and specific norms attached to those genders that we must abide by.
Melanie, baby, is everything a woman needs to be and more. So her identification as queer really shows how caring she is about everyone in the world.
Aw, you're so sweet. I love that term to describe myself. And it's even more perfect now that I met you.
You're perfect.
Oh, no, you're perfect.
I know exactly who I'm attracted to. I love men. Oh, shoot. Okay, I'm really confused. I'm gonna go back in there. I'm gonna figure this out. Okay, I'll be right back.
Hi, I identify as pansexual, and no, I'm not attracted to pans or pots for that matter. To help you all understand the basic idea of how I view sexuality, I'm going to stick to some culinary analogies. For instance, typically when people are asked if they're coffee people or not, you would expect a yes or no answer. Well, when I'm asked that question, I may reach outside the yes or no response and say, it all depends. While I enjoy coffee, there are certain blends that I do not like. Sometimes I prefer a nice cup of tea for my morning caffeine boost and not a cup of cappuccino. It depends on the flavor of the drink, the feeling it gives me, and the environment I'm in when I make the selection of my beverage of choice. Coffee may come from Brazil, Ethiopia, Jamaica, wherever. Sometimes it's not about where something comes from, but how you choose to connect with it.
Too complicated.
You know, sexuality really can be flexible. Sometimes I find myself moving along the spectrum, and that's okay too. While my last relationship didn't really work out the best, that doesn't mean I will ever consider a certain gender or biological identity any different in my future relationships. I examine the soul of a person when making a decision on a partner, and not about their biological identity.
Well, this feels better, but I still don't feel I know who I am. I've come to realize many people feel they have to know who they like. Why? We go through college trying to discover something as simple as our major. Why should we have to know who or what we're attracted to? We should be able to explore our sexuality like we explore our majors, because learning who we are takes experience and time. There's so many people with an undeclared major, and you know what? I have an undeclared sexuality, and that is completely okay.